Cardano has been on an impressive rally over November and now starting in December, continuing that rally. And what we are seeing here is altcoins that did really well in the beginning of 2024 that were known as like the first movers, the outliers, are being caught up to. Specifically, Cardano is catching up to Solana. And what we can see here on the Solana Cardano chart is that Solana is actually dropping massively against Cardano's valuation. We can see here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this is the 6th week that Solana is dropping against Cardano. We talked about this in the ultimate Cardano price prediction video we did a couple weeks ago about how Cardano was massively undervalued all 2024. And when assets like Solana were ripping in early 2024, maybe even like late 2023, Cardano was kind of sitting still. And what happened then? Solana grew much faster than Cardano, making this massive upwards move of Solana for Cardano on the Solana Cardano chart. This is a valuation of Solana in terms of ADA. But now that we have seen Cardano start to move past $1 up to $1.20 and pushing on to $2 or $3 next year, we are seeing Solana drop tremendously in the valuation of Cardano. What does this mean for Cardano? What does this mean for Solana? Is Solana going to keep going up this cycle? Let's break it down. So the first thing I want to talk about here is this chart, the Solana Cardano chart. This is basically Sol-ADA, and instead of having a chart where it's like ADA USD or Solana USD, this is Solana ADA. This is Solana valued in Cardano, okay? And so what we are seeing here is what I think it is very, very interesting and very, very important, especially as along this narrative of like Cardano's an underperformer. We are seeing a lot of those things turn around in November, in December here of 2024. So over late 2023 and early 2024, we can see this massive move by Solana against Cardano going upwards. This is where we had a lot of the meme coin hype. This is where we had a lot of like Solana maxism, or bringing people from, the retail space into Solana for memes, for the gains, right? For all these things. But as this has happened, the sleeping giant Cardano has started to wake up. That's where we see this downwards pressure in Solana ADA. And there's a couple key levels that I'm watching to see where Sol can get in terms of ADA and kind of what you should do if you're an investor in Solana or an investor in Cardano. Now, the basis thing I want to talk about is how I definitely think Cardano has more room to run than Solana for the rest of the cycle, which is why we are seeing this massive drop in Solana, right? Solana's going to have a runway as well, but Cardano is going to have more room to grow. We can see this down here if we find the current market cap. Where is it? If we go to, well, let's look. Cardano, the current market cap right here of Cardano is $41 billion. Okay, that's an important number to remember. Now let's go check out the current market cap of Solana. The current market cap of Solana, nope, it's not Solana. Solana is right here, $106 billion. So Solana is over double the size of Cardano currently as far as market capitalization. Now, if we go back to the Sol-ADA chart here, what we are seeing is Cardano increasing in market cap as Solana is kind of staying the same. There are a couple of key resistance levels I want to talk about, or support levels that Sol-ADA could have, and I want to show you how I got to these spots. So the first thing that we have is if we remove this Fibonacci, remove the moving averages, right, kind of clean this chart up, the first thing I naturally see, whether it's on a monthly chart or it's on a weekly chart, is I see this topping point that is kind of going to be a level of support for Solana. Then I see this next little topping point before the further move upwards. And that's going to be the second natural support in my resistance when we zoom way out on a monthly chart. That's kind of how I like to draw support and resistance. But when we take it back down to the weekly channel, the weekly time frame, we can then add some more context to this. You can see right now, Solana is actually breaking through our first level of support, heading down to the second. Now, when we add something like a Fibonacci on top of this, we can get even more data as to what is going on. That coincides with these support and resistance levels that we drew before we even got to the Fibonacci, okay? So we have this level of support Solana is currently breaking through, but when we add this plus our 618, we kind of get this box range, this range that we could target for Solana ADA. Now, I wasn't sure if Sol was going to come all the way down here, but we are watching it happen in front of our eyes. And basically what I did is I took this yellow support band and the 786 and kind of built a box that Sol could go to. This is the 786 to the 618 is a traditional area that we see assets retrace to. And what we are seeing here, I think, is Solana actually retracing down to this bottom blocks between 140 and 120 ADA. Okay, so one Solana would kind of be valued in this range, right? Why is this important? I think that this is important because this is leading into a couple of narratives. One, Solana is not going to grow as much as Cardano in the rest of this cycle. We see that with this chart right here showing that the value of Solana is dropping in terms of Cardano, right? We see that with the market cap. And assuming that Bitcoin goes to a couple trillion, Ethereum's kind of probably around like 50% of Bitcoin's market cap. So maybe if Bitcoin goes to 2 or 3 trillion, Ethereum gets to 1 trillion. And then smaller L1s like Solana, Cardano, or like the next 10 L1s behind Ethereum, like Solana, Cardano, AVAX, BNB, all those things that we kind of hear about as the next third generation chips in crypto, those could kind of, in my experience, kind of get where Ethereum got last cycle. So kind of like the 400 billion, $500 billion range, okay? So if we take that into consideration, Solana's got a 4x to get there. Cardano has, 7 or an 8x to get there. That is why we're seeing this drop of Solana against Cardano, because Cardano has been growing these last 2 months, November and December, at a much more rapid pace than Solana has been growing. Solana grew in that rapid pace in mid-2024, right? It had its massive season where everyone was talking about Solana. As Solana has grown, the rate of growth is going to be slower. Cardano is just getting to that phase. This is why we're seeing this drop of Solana against Cardano, as Cardano's entering that massive growth phase that Solana had 6 months ago. So Cardano is going to be catching up. What this means for you if you're a Solana holder or a Cardano holder is that you are you have a higher likelihood of percentage returns if you trade your Solana for ADA at this time or during any of these times. I don't know where the bottom of this goes, but in my opinion, there will probably be a little bit of hesitation maybe around this resistance level or support level. Ultimately, I think Solana in value of ADA will retrace down to this box at around 120 to 140, maybe 120, maybe 130, somewhere in there. I would be surprised to see it go lower. I don't think that it can't happen. Maybe this turns into kind of oscillation where it goes all the way down to 31, right? We don't exactly know, but I think a safe spot to target if you are trading Solana for Cardano is to do it now and wait until we hit this pocket. We don't know how fast this happens. We don't really have a lot of data to deal with here. Solana is such a new token. Cardano is really only 2 cycles old or something like that. And so it's hard to tell where the bottom of this is due to limited data, right? People weren't tracking the value of Solana versus the value of Cardano over, 10 years, right? It's a very new thing. What is important to note is that Solana is dropping against Cardano, and this means that you have a better chance of growth if you're in the Cardano ecosystem. Now, I still think Solana does good. And has the ability to do good in the crypto market, okay? I don't want to show that because I don't want people to think I'm anti-Solana. I have my own views about why I invest in Cardano, why I think Cardano is a good asset, right? We are all allowed to have our own views. But this is what's happening in Solana currently. On the macro, the monthly chart, you can see down here, this is from 2020. From 2020 to now, Solana has only gone up on a macro basis. What does this mean? I think that Solana continues to go up. We can have our moving averages show you where things are going. We can go to a weekly chart. We can see Solana's above all moving averages, right? It might come down and touch a moving average, but it is heading upwards. We can also toss in an RSI, show you some kind of where direction's going. And in my opinion, the RSI is showing a good momentum change from, like this cool off period, but continued uptrend. So Solana's going up. We can also look at Cardano. On the same metrics, in the same method, we've talked about Cardano a lot in other videos. That's what this channel is all about. But Cardano is doing amazing things, getting above all moving averages, moving up the Fibonacci, retaking $1. RSI is getting up into the green, right, into the overbought kind of area. on a monthly chart, we're seeing things just starting to heat up on the RSI, which gives us ability to see a long-term monthly view in January, in February, all these things. So both assets are going up. They're both going up against Bitcoin. We can see that on the ADA Bitcoin chart as Cardano is going up against Bitcoin. We can also look at the Sol Bitcoin chart and see how Solana has actually been doing very well against Bitcoin. It might come down a little bit, but it's still got RSI in its favor, still got moving averages in its favor. The thing that you want to see is, does Solana break above this downwards trend line and continue to go back up to kind of this 46,000 Satoshi level, right? Does Solana get up to the 46,000? I think that's what you would call it. These Satoshi valuations are a little bit weird, but does Solana break this trend line and keep going up, right? If it doesn't, does it come down here? And then does it continue to go upwards? But both assets are doing well against the dollar. Both assets are doing well against Bitcoin. The big thing that I want you to know in this video is that Solana is dropping against Cardano. And this means that much like how if you would have been in Bitcoin all 2024 and then converted to ADA or Solana, or well, converted to ADA now, you'd be in a better position. If at early or mid 2024 you converted Bitcoin to Solana, you'd be in a better position, right? Now is the time to change Solana for Cardano, or it was at least a couple weeks ago, as Solana is continuing to drop against Cardano. We can see the RSI on the monthly chart is showing massive downwards. We see the price targets on the monthly scale breaking below moving averages, and this gets even worse when we look at moving averages on the weekly channel. On the weekly channel, Solana is bottoming down here on the RSI. This could mean maybe it continues to go down for a couple weeks, or maybe it accumulates for a couple weeks, but it is going down on the moving averages, going down on the Fibonacci, going down on the RSI. And it is showing a lot of reasons why, in terms of ADA, it's not the best to hold Solana right now. It's better to hold Cardano. The last thing I want to look at in this video is, what is the risk metric telling us? The risk metric right now is telling us that Solana, in terms of ADA, is at an all-time low. Technically, this would be a buying point. This would be a buying point. And so when we get blue, maybe in the history, you can see when we get blue, this is typically a bottoming portion, meaning that you have the ability to make more gains in the future. What we could be seeing here, if all analysis I've said is wrong, if we don't keep going downwards, if we somehow break back above moving averages and RSI, is this could be the buying opportunity of a lifetime for Solana holders in terms of ADA. Now, I don't really think that's the immediate case. I think probably what happens is, like we sat in the red for quite a while for, this might be July, August, September, this could be like 6 months, 7 months, 8 months right here. We could possibly sit in the blue area for months on end. And so does that mean Solana breaks down here slowly and continues, or kind of accumulates in this area? I think that could be a more likely scenario. I don't think that immediately Solana ADA will pump back up to the red or back up to the green or anything like that. But this risk metric tells us that Solana is dropping against Cardano. It is a value against Cardano. The question that we want to know is, how long does it continue to go down? When we look at the Solana, when we look at the ADA USD chart, we can see that the risk metric for Cardano is currently at 74. Typically, a good selling point is up here around 0.8, 0.9. But 0.74 right now, we can see last cycle, Cardano did the same thing. Kind of got up here for quite a while, and it gets overheated and cools down and overheated and cools down. I'm sure we're going to see the same thing on the Solana chart. But these areas are sitting in these ranges for months on end. So it's not really an immediate indicator, but something to notice over the long term. Now, if we check out Solana USD again one last time, we can see the risk metric. It is currently at 68, so a little bit behind Cardano, maybe because Cardano is having a heated up moment. Much like how Solana had its heated up moment and it's cooled down, Cardano is having its heated up moment and is a little bit higher on the risk level. But at the end of the day, what I think is important is that if you are a Solana holder, Sol is dropping against Cardano tremendously right now, and it might be an opportunity to swap to Cardano to make a little bit more gains as Cardano enters into January and February. Now, in January and February, I have reason to believe Cardano could possibly break its all-time high and get back to around that $3 area based on historical data. We're going to make another video on that later this week, so stay tuned for that if that interests you. But what's really important is how we have this thesis of Cardano being undervalued all 2024, and we're watching it play out in front of our eyes. How Solana pumped earlier, Cardano has pumped later, and now Cardano is catching up to the big movers. Cardano is slowly catching up to the rest of the market and taking back ranks in the total crypto market cap, which is very, very interesting. Last cycle, Cardano was around, it was number 3 in the total crypto rankings and has currently made its way back to number 8. Now, I don't know how high it gets this cycle, but I would love for it to get back up here and get to right behind Solana at number 6 or compete with Solana some more. I think we all agree, both platforms are good. Both ecosystems are good and worth different things that they do, right? Cardano is a little bit more decentralized. Solana is much faster. They both have great use cases. But in terms of Cardano, Solana is dropping, and this is something we should be watching and will keep watching in the future. If you like the video, drop a comment down below. What do you think about both assets, Solana, Cardano? Which one do you think is the best investment right now? I think right now, based on what we're seeing in these charts and these data, Cardano is pumping massively. And if we're kind of targeting around a $400 to $500 billion market cap between these two, Solana currently is above 100 billion. So it's got about a 4x at the max left, maybe a 3x left. Cardano is sitting at around 50 billion if we round up a little bit, it's sitting at 50 billion. And so that means if it's going to get to 400 billion, maybe 500 billion, it's got anywhere from a 5 to a 10x left, whereas Solana's got maybe like a 4x left, 5x left. That is why we're seeing Solana drop against Cardano. That is why, in my opinion, Cardano is a better asset to hold. And I highly suggest, just taking this into account if you're an investor in Cardano like I am. I think Cardano has been undervalued. I think it's currently catching up to where it should have been and is getting the roses it deserves. If you agree with me, I'd love to hear it down in the comments, but that's the video. Solana is dropping against Cardano. Cardano is actually catching up to Solana, and I think Cardano is finally getting the recognition it deserves. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you in the next one.